Hey everyone, I wanted to give an introduction to the new card type, which are 8 Subrulers. So these are new card type being introduced in Pilgrim Memories, the upcoming set, which is a support set for the original cluster of the game. So the way these work, they're essentially new abilities or support cards printed for the original rulers. They're going to grant them additional text, essentially, that helps you support their strategy in a modern way. The first 8 Subruler that was spoiled was Alice's Friends in Wonderland. So this was spoiled on the official Force of Will YouTube channel. So go give the channel a watch if you have a chance. They have a lot of videos with spoilers and updates to the game, such as a ban list. But this is the first 8 Subruler that was spoiled. So this is supporting the original Alice in Wonderland. And it has the effect that reads whenever one or more non-fairy tale cards were put into your hand from your deck by effects or abilities without drawing, discard a card. So I'm not sure right now if this has any benefit to the deck that I'm not noticing, or if this is just to encourage you to sticking to fairy tales, but that's the first effect. But then it reads whenever you shuffle your deck, put a T counter on this card, and then remove a T counter from this card, choose one, play this ability only during main timing. So you can draw a card, this card loses all abilities until end of turn. Produce any color, spend this wood to pay judgment costs of Alice in Wonderland, or heal an astral ruler named Alice in Wonderland you control. So the draw cards probably incentivize you to just do it at the end of your turn if you have enough leftover counters, if you would like. And then the cool one is that you can remove the counters to produce will to judgment the original Alice in Wonderland. So if you're not familiar, this card, or the original Alice, her judgment, you can put any color towards the judgment cost and you'll get an effect depending on what cost you put in. So for example, you can see that after you flip, Alice has the enter effect. If you paid white for judgment process with this card, you gain 1,000 life. If you paid blue, draw a card. If you paid black, your opponent discards a card. If you paid red, it deals 1,000 damage to up to one target resonator. If you paid green, destroy up to one target addition. And then if you paid each color, including will produced by Mujart Fantasy Stone, which is one of the, I believe, the true magic stones from one of the original sets. This card gains flying and swiftness. So the 8 is going to let you essentially try and play these abilities for free, which is really cool, depending on how often you're searching your deck. And then with the last ability, you're able to heal your Alice after she gets destroyed. So this allows you to repeat this ability. So it seems like a cool control type effect for the deck. There's probably a million types of way you can search your deck to trigger the 8 cards effect, but most likely you're going to be playing Alice, or at least you could be playing Alice with the original Grimm. So he's going to allow you to search your deck basically every turn for one will. So it's basically free will for your judgment. You could also consider running the Mumu Tribe Researcher, who was released in Crimson Moon's Battleground, who has an activate ability where you can discard them from your hand to produce Void to use for ruler activate abilities. So you can use this in combination with Grimm to essentially use his activate ability for free, and then you get a T counter for the 8 card. They also spoiled the Bandolier of Envy, which is the sub-ruler or 8 card for the Apostle of Creation. So this has a tap ability where you pay 1,200 and you essentially load up your gun with 6 bullets, 6 bullet counters on this card. You can remove a bullet counter from this card. Your Cane, Trader of Gods, gains Swiftness, Pierce, or Bane until end of turn. You play this only once per turn. And you could also remove a bullet counter from this card. Choose one once per turn. So this is your turn or your opponent's turn. You can play Fire, Cognate Resonator, or a fire card with bullet in its name without paying its cost, or target cognate spell or automatic ability. Activate or automatic ability of cognate cannot be cancelled until end of turn, or destroy target resonator you control. So currently there's only a few cognate resonators and 1 bullet card, but I wouldn't be surprised if they add any new ones in this set to support Cane. So individually, none of the cognate resonators are great, but considering the fact that you're paying them for free, and also considering that Kane's going to buff them +2, I guess it's not horrible if you're just playing a fun theme deck. So Apostle of Cain, so 500, 100, and then as an enter, if your J Ruler attacks this turn, you gain swiftness, so you'll be swinging in essentially 700 damage for free since you're going to be playing them with a bullet counter. The other resonators, so Jabal and Jabal, are both 2 costs, but you can play them for free. They do not have swiftness, but you can play one of them in your opponent's turn, so kind of pseudo swiftness in that sense. Both of them are similar to the other cognate in that they get an extra effect if your J Ruler attack this turn. So Jabal is going to deal 500 damage to a target resonator when it attacks if your J Ruler attacked, and Jabal is going to prevent a block if your J Ruler attacked this turn. The last current card that you can use for free right now is the Bullet of Envy. So this is an addition J Resonator weapon, and essentially you can add this to your cane by removing a bullet counter, and it's going to be +8/+8 as long as you have less life than your opponent. And if you used the aid, you're basically going to have less life because you're going to be paying 1200 life to add the bullet counters. So then your cane's going to swing in with swiftness for 15/15. And there's also a new edition coming out of the set called Pandora's Relic Arsenal, which is going to make it so that your opponent can't chase the weapons or relics. And it has an ability, a continuous ability, I guess, that'll trigger when an addition is added to a J/Resonator that lets you draw a card and give that J/Resonator barrier until end of game. So I do believe they can chase to this trigger, but if they do not, then your cane's going to be protected for the rest of the game and powered up by your weapon. The next aid card is the Basket of Apples, which was designed for Snow White. So right off the back, it lets you have 10 copies of Poison Apple in your deck, which is going to make it very easy to judgment your Snow White because she has an alternate judgment cost of pay void and discard an apple card, Poison Apple. So easy judgment, and then it also lets you pay 2 less to play Chance with Apple in their name if you control Snow White as your J Ruler. And currently there are 2 different apple cards you can play with this. So the first of these is going to be Poison Apple itself, which gives target resonator +1000 to end of turn. At the end of turn, you destroy that resonator. And then the second card you're able to play for free is going to be the Clockwork Apple Bomb, which is specific to Snow White, in that the trigger is if you ruler Snow White or Bloody Snow White, you get to destroy target blocking resonator and blocked resonator, and then 500 damage to each of those resonators controllers. Then these are going to synergize with the last ability of Basket of Apples, because the last ability allows you to search your deck for X cards named Poison Apple, reveal them, put them into your hands, where X the number of different chants with Apple in their name in their graveyard when one or more of your J/Resonators is destroyed. So basically whenever you resolve those cards, those apple cards, you're going to be searching for apples from your deck, and the number you search is going to be increasing every time you resolve, essentially. And you also get to draw a card in addition to that, so it's going to be a lot of value. And then once you flip your Snow White, she's going to have an activated ability on her J Ruler side that lets you destroy target resonators by paying 1 and discarding an apple. So it all synergizes in a really cool way to support Snow White. Been revealed so far is the Trials from Kaguya. This aid allows you to have essentially an extra deck specifically for treasury items, and it's going to allow you to have 5 of them in that deck. And whenever you're searching your deck for treasury item, you can search your EX treasury deck instead. The treasury deck can only have 5 unique treasury items, and it also gives your ruler the ability of whenever you destroy 1 or more J/Resonators your opponent controls, you may search your deck for a treasury item and put it into the field, shuffle your deck. So you can search your new treasury deck or your main deck for treasury items. So at the moment, good treasury items you can use are probably the Duplication Mirror, which copies any non-Magic Stone entity or J Ruler you control when it enters. It enters as a copy, so it's also going to get the enter ability. Or you can also currently bring in the Arc's Gears Grail, which is going to stop Magic Stone recovery. Or another good one at the moment is bringing in the Apollo Sphere, the Moonlance. So I believe this has to have a J/Resonator target when it comes in, but it's a good card in that you can banish it to pay the cost of a water instant. So just off the top of my head, the Muse Staring At is a good water card that's going to stop whiff cheating from your opponent. So if you're really interested in the Seer of the Blue Moon, take a look at Ruler School's most recent podcast, which is, I believe, is 141, where they're covering the spoiler cards. He goes really in depth into Seer of the Blue Moon, her Subruler, and then her Chant Standby cards as well, and how they all synergize really well. So overall, the set has a lot of really cool stuff. It seems like the design's very open for the set, so you can really mess around and do different combinations of your rulers and a lot of different strategies with the cards they're making for them. So it's very cool to see. And just real quick, if you got this far, please, if you can, like and subscribe so you can just try and get more Force Wheel content out there on YouTube.